Well, hello, everyone. I'm Deanna, an English specialist and founder of Open Shores English. And today we have a very special guest with us for agricultural engineers, and she's the head of mission at the Swedish Development Aid Organization, also known as SWEDO. Iqbal Hamad, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for the interview as well as for the introduction.
Of course, you've done things with science, you've done things with policy and with education as well. And yeah, I hope that we can start mostly with where you studied, where you're from, what got you into your studies, and then from there I'll continue with some questions.
Thank you very much. So first of all, it's my pleasure to be here with you in this meeting, and also to give like a brief about myself. I'm Iqbal Hamad. I'm considering myself as a professional with a background in technical support for the engineering and a strong focus on women empowerment and gender equality and climate change as well. So I'm from Jordan. Lived before during the basic education in Saudi Arabia, and did a master's degree, the second master's degree in Netherlands for 1 year to pursue my second master's degree in urban management and development. For my major was sustainable environment and climate change, taking into consideration the water collaborative governance. Afterwards, I was able to employ what I learned in different contexts. In Jordan, in different settings. In Jordan, I worked in different governorates in Jordan, 12 governorates, as well as in Iraq, Erbil, and Syria. My interest to be an agricultural engineer and in water management to advance food security. Therefore, my bachelor degree was in agriculture engineering, focus in horticulture and plant protection. Afterwards, as I believed on the necessity of agriculture, on the livelihoods and well-being of for the people, whether in urban or rural settings, I have continued my graduate studies to focus mainly on horticulture and field crop, where my thesis was on tomato organic production under plastic house conditions. During my bachelor time, I was environmental activist, honestly, with a group of youth. I have contributed to establish an association called YES. It's stand for Youth Environmental Society, which address the climate and saving environment. Currently, I'm a member in a different non-profit organizations on a voluntary basis, where the youth is the main element and the target for our work. So for me, if you like focusing more or to be more focused on my first master, which is about organic farming and sustainable agriculture and using the resources in a responsible manner, it was like, it's my interest area. Based on my readings and research, I found that the agriculture and natural resources will be the edge of our survival. So you have the choices or the options and the decision to either to keep it last long for you and for the next generation, or just end it immediately by our action, unresponsible action. Agriculture, and it's like relates to available resources, which is also associated with that on the development sectors, right? And care about them underestimated people, in particular those who is living in poor conditions, facing the different issues, it's yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like myself that I'm I'm activist focusing in agriculture, food security, water management, as well as of course, later I will discuss or say more about the other field area, which is like women empowerment.
And you said that when you did your master's on water governance, is that you mentioned that it was both for rural areas and also for cities. Do you tend to focus more on rural areas?
Yeah, in rural areas, yes. To be honest with you, my first, first work, it was really focusing mainly in rural areas because, those people who's having less resources, less opportunities. So we try to to develop or to build their capacities as well as to support them in order to survive. Our work is focusing mainly on rural areas. Of course, we have to address also the people who's living in urban settings, but the priority was the rural areas. And agriculture, rural areas is really connected together. So because they've mainly depending in their life and their income in agriculture activities. So that's why we are mostly put a lot of work and support for people who is in rural areas.
Well, you talk about food security and our dependence in the cities or outside of rural areas depends on these people's livelihoods as well, right? And
Yeah.
I wonder what connection you've seen with the climate crisis since you've been educating people in these areas as well. And I do want to talk more about YES, which I didn't have any questions prepared on, but later. We'll start
So,
with.
yeah. So, again, agriculture, there is an nexus between agriculture, water, and food security, right? So one of the main concern in Jordan is water availability. We have a limitation actually in natural resources in general and mainly in water. So which is considered as a climate crisis. People really the percentage or the per capita, the amount of the water per capita for per people in Jordan is getting less. Before I think before 10 years ago it was 143 meters square, but now it's like less, even it's like by less by 10, 135. So and if we still working and also dealing with our resources in an unresponsible manner, we will even turn to big disaster, which is the climate crisis. So, as I mentioned, water is connected with agriculture, it's connected with the food security, it's connected with the well-being and livelihoods of the people.
It's profound. This this decrease in consumption is something that is imposed, or you have limitations that are imposed by government, or why is this amount decreasing? Because for preparation of not having water?
There is a lot of results behind this. It's not like because the government, no, it's because there is a lot of factors, external factors, which has impacted our resources. First, like the climate change. This is what is common, not in Jordan alone, but also in other countries. But the other side is the influxes of refugees. So the amount that distributed among one persons now is becoming less because we have refugees, and of course they will share our resources. We share our resources together. And another area also because the number of the population increase in general. So this is also affected the amount, the quantities that are available for one person. That's why this is the clear reason behind this. But of course, the climate change also having impacted our resources, and sometimes also the using the domestic water available for the household, for instance, is less because there is also a sharing and distribution for other sectors, right? So we need to think about this because if we now working or encouraging the investment and encouraging the industrial sector, so we have to think seriously about how the quantities that available for the people, for the person, it will be getting less. That's why.
So did all of this start with horticulture and just seeing the need, connection between farming, food security, and water? Or was it not that clear cut? Did you have some time working as an engineer and then decide kind of to move more towards women's empowerment and youth engagement? How did this transition take place?
Yes. To be honest with you, actually, like working in engineering, agriculture, water management is my passion. And it's like the field where I feel myself is there. But of course, kind of the like woman empowerment, because I believe on all segments of the communities. I believe on the power of women. I believe the power of youth, as well as for the community in general. So that the shifting or switching from agriculture to women empowerment is something I would like to say it's not because I would like to do that. It's something which is I get promotion from my employer after I graduate from the from the second master, which, as I mentioned, is focusing mainly in sustainable environment and climate change, where I feel myself like, okay, I can do a lot of things here. But I got this a promotion is to be as a director of women empowerment and gender program. I feel there is okay, there is a power which is missing, or it's not missing, maybe it's not clear. And I think there is a potential to empower this group for people, what I mean for women, to be more active in a public life. So by this, I feel myself less, there is a potential here, and I can do something which is like impacted later positively and do kind of the positive change for the community and for my countries as well.
That's amazing and so well put, because you are unlocking the potential of public life and a new kind of public life. It's really cool to hear you talk about it. And it seems like you kind of got pulled in that direction, just, yes, by the promotion, by what you went to study. What you said in the Netherlands, right?
Yes, in Netherlands.
And do you see, I mean, how does that contrast? We talked a little bit about contrast between when we talked before about Iraq and Syria having some contrast, but I didn't even ask what's the contrast between where you live and where you went off to study about these topics, which I don't know what it looks like there, but I imagine it looks different than Jordan.
Yes, of course. So I believe actually like to go to visit to see the other nations, to see other people, because it's will be like a added value to your like to your experience, not to just like in one box, and like a kind of the exchange between people is really important, and it's really building your capacity as well as bringing some kinds of the solution and support, right? So being a student in Netherlands, learning in different contexts, learning in different styles, it built my capacity in order to open for other societies, to open in another context, and also to build my skills regarding how I can communicate and respect the other interests, right? So, and this bring me to to this position actually. If not like if I'm not an open person, I will never be in the current position where I am now in. So that's why I really recommend, I advise many people to come, like to open to others, to other nations, to other societies, to have this kind of the exchange, sharing knowledge, sharing experience. This is really important. It's build your like background and your skills and your capacity, and by this you can also transfer, because it's, I believe it's their rights, the people that you work with, is their right to learn from you. It's not something that I have to earn and gain by myself and just keep it to myself. No, I'm a person in a position to also to educate other people, right? And also to give, like to transfer the know-how to other people who is in need, or at least who is like in and the level that he would like or she would like to be as a leader for the future, in the future. So this is my like mission and in my work and even in my life, in personal life.
That's wow, it's a lot. And I just have so many questions and I'm writing things down and just like, oh, come back to that. But I guess I wonder if you've ever had any conflicts of interest, because you're saying that there's a lot of connectivity in learning and growing together, but you do bump up against challenges that force you to grow. And maybe that's part of the beautiful exchange is the adversity. And I wonder how has your experience with adversity been through your work, maybe through your personal experience? I mean, you're empowering women, so you're bound to bang up against some barriers, no?
Yeah. Let's back again to the like from when I just like finished my school and apply for the university. When I applied for the university, my grade was very high actually, and I assumed to be applying for medicine or for for engineering, like civil engineer or something which is more fit with my grade, right? But I decided to have, the agriculture. It was difficult, to be honest with you. Although it's not my interest in the first, it's not like interest, it's like a favorite, but it's not the career path that I would like to have. My family in the beginning, they told me that it's okay. You can go and continue with this choice. But later, when they found that this major is connected with the working in the farms, talking with the people, talking with the laborers, that, and I'm like a female. This is well making, because it's social norms. It's like giving me like way of restriction or a challenge that it's not possible for you, Iqbal, to continue in this field. But I decided because I feel myself like, okay, I like to be an academic later in the future, but I'm more to be like more professional in working in the field of its, which is really touch every person, which is the food security and agriculture, right? So that's why like I decided to continue. After that, I decided also to have the second master degree, which is in urban management and development. My colleague at work, they told me this is will not benefit you. It's not beneficial at all. So it's good to why you decide to have this. It's really a kind of switching of your major and your field. But I told them I know what I'm doing, and also I feel myself like this is the correct path that I would like to go forward to. So that's why I pick, like, I decide to continue, I move forward and select the major that I use. I feel myself like I'm okay with it, and I feel that it's my favorite. And later, once I like graduate, I got the promotion to be as a director of women empowerment and gender program. And my colleagues at that time, you are an engineer and your field is like engineering. Why you decide to switching and to that if there are like open a promotion or opportunity for you to go and to lead this department, but it's not like your area. So be careful when you select this this choice and go forward. You are still just like to be aware or to understand you are engineer, Iqbal. So, and this field is totally different than yours. It's still, yes, I know that. I know it's such a matter of challenge, but still, I like to be because the challenge is connected with the opportunity too. I feel myself, there's many things area that I can improve and enhance. And I found myself, okay, because when I review the profile for women empowerment and gender program, I find there is a lot of missing items, which is connected with the environment. And I know in the future, the most concern and the challenge is the environment. So we need to like build the capacities of women to be in the step where they be able to discuss and to communicate about this, and to be able also to share the decision with the decision makers in the equal food, right? So that's why I feel myself like, and even if I'm not that the background is totally different. What is that the department is about? But it's, again, it's something that I can do something real and benefit, and also be like support for the people who is in need. That's why I like decided to continue for 5 years working under this department, trying to approach donors, trying to approach partners in order to really to do something real and touches on them, on the community in terms of the development and humanitarian stuff. And now it's like something that I feel myself, okay, I build this department, I set the profile for the department, I build the woman empowerment and gender program and gender policy for the organization, which is established since 1977. And afterwards, I feel myself and also do this kind of the connection and networking. And I put the department in the development map. So after that, I feel myself like I'm satisfied now. I can move for another chapter of my life, in my work life. So I decided to now to work in some how is not a national Royal NGO, now to be as international worker NGO.
You just have such insight for the gaps that you mentioned with the environment because of your past experience, and for you to tie those things together. And then you're mentioning, I mean, you said that the Sustainable Development Goals came about right when you were studying. All of this kind of mixed together and continued to fill those gaps, and it's you do a lot of connectivity.
Exactly. Yeah, because as I mentioned earlier or before, that when I just like go to continue to pursue my second master, it was like the SDGs time, which is 2015. And at that time, like we just like, and I did a presentation about it, and to do kind of the like a comparison between MDGs and SDGs. It's a kind of to take away information from Netherlands actually, and went back to my organization, to my home country, and start promoting and start talking about what is SDGs is. My colleagues, they are not aware about it, and they tell me what it stands for SDGs. I told them, please, if you want, I can do a kind of the presentation for you, just like to inform you about what is SDGs. Now we are in different stage. Before was like MDGs, now in another, it's in the millennium, but now it's like SDGs, which we need to work hard to be committed till 2030 in order to achieve at least something. And as a Royal NGO, I mean, as a national NGOs established since 1977, it's really an old NGO. So we need to contribute in this. By this, in order to have really something in solid and concrete in my hand, I start analyze what is the projects that I have in my department and what is the missing actually, and to do kind of the comparison. Okay, this project is connected with the economic empowerment and with the gender equality and with education. So I try to like connect the goal first, number one, which is about fighting poverty, right? And also this goal number two, and goal number three, I think, which is our fourth, is connected with the health as well as with the education, and five with the gender equality. By this, I bring this project is focusing in this area. If there is another project which is more focused to be like a governance, building capacities, or I mean networking, so of course I will go for the goal number 17 and bringing gender equality as well. So I'm trying to do this kind of the connection between the goals as well as reflecting them on my projects. And if there's like after the analysis and after I see myself like, okay, I'm doing this, if there's something missing, which is in a line with our context and with our needs, so I'm trying to mobilize the resources as well as to write kind of the proposals or concept notes, and like to network with the other partners who has priority areas in this area. So by this, I feel myself like I'm satisfied with the work that being done so far.
Yes, the building of a department. I was looking for the word department. And I do want to go back to the women's empowerment that you do, because you've got your own projects that you're working on.
WWI is a project which is implemented by the organization, national organization, where I was working as a project coordinator and project manager. It's called the Jihad, the Jordanian Enhancement Fund for Human Development, and it's funded by GIZ and actually by different donors, which is they are mainly from Germany. So GIZ, BGR, and Hans Seidel Foundation. These donors are more focused like in building the curriculum for women in order to empower them in terms of water management. So the objectives of this project is to like building the capacities of women for women to be as change makers, as well as to change their behavior in terms of water management at household level, because we know that the women are the end user at household level, right? So that's why the project is targeting mainly women. So water-wise women initiatives is targeting women in different settings in Jordan. And no matter if she is like Jordanian or she is refugees, because this like her right to know about the water and about the available resources in where she is live, right? And the project, as I mentioned, is a series of training. It's like 8 modules, starting by hygienes and ended by plumbing. So I was like a project coordinator for this project. So as well as a trainer, I developed one of the training modules, which is about irrigation and plant propagation, and it's approved by the donor. And I used to do kind of reviewing the other modules, which is about hygiene, about water harvesting from the from the rooftop, sorry, and also from the another, which is about gray water management, marketing, communication, and plumbing. So I was also contributing in reviewing these modules, but the first one, which is the one that I developed, is focusing mainly in irrigation and plant propagation. Again, it's, as I mentioned, it's focusing in women. We build their capacities. We started by core team. The core team consists of 5 trainers. I was a part of these trainers, and we got the TOT, trainer of trainers, from the one who has developed the training modules. And then we use the snowball mechanism. We started by 5. And those 5, as a trainers, they have to transfer the knowledge to other women in 5 governorates in Jordan. And each governorate consists of about 20 women. And this woman also subjected to learn all 8 modules. And afterwards, the woman responsibility also to share the knowledge for each woman to share to another 20 women. So you can imagine how the snowball starts. Like we started by 5, and then 20 and by 5 is 100 women. And then each woman have to also to approach and to reach to other 20 women. So the snowball is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, we are focusing in women and targeting women, but we cannot exclude men as well, for many reasons, to be honest with you. And also for other family members, like kids or children. There's I know this in general, you see, okay, this is good, and it's kind of the education, building the capacities, raising awareness for women. But to be honest with you, in some contexts, I mean, for the conservative area, like Jordan, having women in continuous basis come to the center, having this kind of the information for 1 or 2 hours, and then back home as a volunteer, something is not easy for them. But we used to keep the women, the number that we targeted. To be honest with you, even we have requests from other women who are not selected to be under this program. They would like to participate on the program. But the problem is When it comes like that last module, which is about plumbing, we know this sector or plumbing area is more dominant by male. And I still remember a story. The woman come to me, told me that Iqbal, I would like to continue this program. It's really interesting, and it's, it's a need in one and at my home, because I sometimes I face some problems. For instance, the tap water, there is some leakage on the water. And if I don't have my husband at house, then I need to wait him until him come back from his work and the plumbers come, and I pay him about 15 GOD. And this is too much on me. I don't have any resource, it's only his work to cover our daily expenses. So I cannot be able to fix this if I'm not like having my husband or my oldest son. So I told her, so what's your problem? I have like a kind of the resistance from my husband to continue with this program, because this work is not for me, it's for men. So how can I and convince him to continue and to to continue with my colleagues, actually with my peers? I thought, don't worry, just please let me know when the time is like you feel yourself that you can receive us, and he should be also there. She told me, okay, I will organize our schedule a meeting with him. So I came, and also I told her there's two options: either to visit you or to bring him to the center here, and just like to be familiar about who's the trainer, what the program is, who's the funder, what's the purpose for it, and what is the outcome, because the project is not only like capacity building and raising awareness, but there is another part which is like applying some water saving measures where be like useful for them, for the family. And she told me, okay, fine, that's good. And we organize a meeting with him and just give him a brief about the program, and then he understand what's the purpose behind that. And then he strongly recommend the program for her, and he told her that, so you can continue, no problem, I'm okay, I can it's like, also if there's another program, advanced program, I will encourage you to continue. And also if there is any opportunity to invite other females from his family to come to also to participate in the program, that I will be okay. And we tell him, okay, this level is like ended by this target group. And if we are open another call for another woman to come, so of course I will contact your wife in order to inform you, in order to bring this woman to also to participate in this program. So this is like Waterwise Women. Waterwise Women is like to build the capacity for women to saving water and changing the behavior, as well as to be like a decision makers. Because sometimes women left behind on these things, and they're kind of the underestimation for women. But by this program, I feel like we build their capacities, become strong enough in order to meet with the other in the one table with other decision makers, in order to discuss about them, their resources, about them, the water, the available water in their areas. So this is the Waterwise Women project. It was like 7 years project.
And ongoing, no? Well, I want to come back to two things from that, because there was a story of resistance, and this gentleman's family was changing with the program that his wife was in. And so you can understand why people who don't want to see change, or just are resistant at first, need a little bit more than just here's how things go. They need the conversation that you're offering, and that sense of security and your expertise. I mean, that kind of ties back to the second thing, which is you're pointing out that we have this duty to share knowledge that in the end has a huge impact. You're impacting 5 women, impacts 25 women, and that's incredible growth. It's wow. So then from there, you're not still working on that now. You have
Actually, yeah.
oh
No, actually, I not working on this project for now because it's already phasing out.
Okay.
And but still, I keep connecting with the women, because sometimes they still like, the life is very dynamic and it's like changing a lot. And especially under the climate conditions and the climate change that we face. So still, like, I have this kind of the connection. Women come to me, ask me using phones if there are like availability of to meet them in person. I, of course, I welcome for that. Like last month, I visit one of the associations where the program is implemented with, and she really appreciate our work, and she asked me, Iqbal, if you can still, like, if there is any possibility to continue with the same program, because it's a need now. This is the time for this project. So, and the new generation now, we need to educate them. And since it's, we have the refugees, and of course, our service is for equal for all society. It's not no matter if it's refugees, IDPs, or our host communities. So if there is a possibility to, again, to implement this program and addressing another group of women, that would be really appreciated. I told her I will see if there's a kind of approaching the partners or someone who is interested in such area in order to build this kind of a collaboration to bring this project again in the top.
Even further, it's crazy. So, okay, you did switch gears a little bit though and start targeting youth more. No, that's what Yes is. So
Yes.
tell me a bit more about Yes. I have.
Yes, so it's actually now it's changed now. The name of the Yes is changed because you know working in general, when you start thinking about helping people, you find it's not only the climate issue, it's not the environment issue, although it's cross-cutting, right? But there's another stuff which is really a need for the people in order to continue and to survive. So we decided to change the name of the organization. I mean, not me, because I'm working for them with them as a supporter, only as a volunteer, but the people who's working under this organization. So they changed it to become more development and humanitarian association or organization. So it's now becomes HH8. So it's stand for Human Use Aid Organization. And it's a group for youth, male and female, come together, decides to work something real in the ground, and to create a kind of the safe space for youth to come and to implement like activities in order to help and support and serve their community. So they decided to build their constitution, starting by the SDGs, and try to find what is the needs of their community. They come like it's a kind of it's a kind of homework. They look at the SDGs and again to their context and their needs, and try to make a connection and linkages between the SDGs and the needs. And they come up with the environment, with the economic empowerment. It's not only for women, but in general for the community, and social empowerment as well, because you cannot like empower economically if not they are not empowered enough socially. So they come with this, and they start now like approaching partners in order to develop something like in the ground. And it's a new organization. Again, it's because their mandates now change. Before it was like focusing heavily on them in an environment. Now it's something which is like above that.
Everything
Yeah.
comes together somewhere. But I actually, speaking of well, I skipped a question that I want to come back to that was about the modules. What was the marketing and communication modules related to water?
Yes, marketing and communication. If we start like marketing, or even because they are connected to each other. So this actually we used to give the women this two modules at the end of the program, because there is a need from the women in order to communicate about their concerns, to have the skills of communication, right? Usually, the people that we address or that we are targeted as a woman, they are household women. They are not like, some of them is not educated even. If they don't have these skills of communication, how they can speak up and talk about their concern and their challenge in terms of water. So that's why we found a communication model is really important and necessary for women. What about the marketing? Marketing, as I told you that before, that at the end of the modules, they're kind of the revolving fund will be given to the women in order to apply some of water measures, water protection measures. And some of the women are working, they select to be as a plumbers. That's why a marketing is a need and necessary for them, right?
That makes
And again,
sense. That makes great sense.
right. And again, to be like to receive an acceptance from the people who's in front of you. I mean, the decision makers.
To be
You have
taken
to
seriously.
be a good communicator as well as you can marketing your ideas to them. So again, if it's not something to market, like something solid to market, I mean, for those women who's working in the plumbing, but also to market your ideas to the decision makers. So it's something which is necessarily not only for those who would like to go in this field, but for all women who is participating in this program.
It really does raise questions about, I mean, around the world, I think most people associate plumbing with men who come into the house and may or may not fix the thing, but we don't attribute it to him being a man that he can't fix it. We just say he's a bad plumber. I guess if you don't market well, then women immediately, if something goes wrong, or you don't want that to happen, but it does happen, it could be attributed to, well, it's because a woman can't be a plumber. And of course, that's not true. What has been the most satisfying part or parts about your work? Why do you get up out of bed and keep doing it?
Because I feel like, yes, of course, the opportunity that I get it, like later and in the future too. But of course, also the positive change that happened in the ground. I'm really satisfied because I know I'm still, like, as I told you, still I receive some calls from the people that I served. And as like, still they feel that I'm a person who do something for them positively, right? And this is really like make you happy. I met like my ex-colleagues. I mean, the people who I was working with in the previous work. And when they saw me, that they told me, "Oh, Iqbal, we miss you. Really, we miss you." And this is like put you like making you very proud and very satisfied to the work that you done, especially that the background that before, like I'm an agriculture engineer, and I used to work as a director for women empowerment. For someone like else, maybe I cannot judge, but yani, for someone else, maybe they feel like, no, I'm not that person to put myself in a challenge and threaten my career, right? But for me, I believe every challenge there is connected with the opportunity. And to have this kind of a mix, environment, climate change, and women empowerment is not common, to be honest with you. So that's why I feel myself I'm satisfied to where I am now. And
Hugely rewarding. That I can imagine, yes, that people see how valuable your work is and they remind you. That's super cool. So now what do you see is our best bet for youth involvement as you're starting to get this project going? What gaps do you see can be filled? I mean, you said that they are really driving the changes in their community because they're taking a look at the SDGs and seeing how it relates to their everyday. And that really is the only way we can do our part, is to notice what's right here in front of us and start doing what's easy. But I just wonder what kinds of challenges you see and what kind of gaps you see need filling.
Yes. So in general, you know, the level of the youth in general is not equal. So you need to understand that first, that youth needs kind of support, coach, and build their capacities in order to really address and tackle the real needs. This is the first point. The second point, we need to like believe on their energy. We need to believe on their ability and capability in order to do something real. We have to understand first the causes of what is the needs. And this is, as usual, I'm always like advise the youth. You need to understand first the causes and do your analysis properly in order to have an action aligned with your community needs. Otherwise, you will lose, and also, you know, it's a matter of wasting your time and your effort. So your intervention should be very like be sustainable by giving its inclusion in nature. For instance, ask them, you have to coordinate and to work together. You need to be like one unit in order to really have an impact for in the long run. Don't underestimate your skills. Don't underestimate your capacity or even any action that you take. So we need to build their self-esteem first on them, and then they can go like forward and do something like, you know, helping people. Because sometimes, like, if you are not satisfied or there is something which is inside you that telling you this action is not enough for people really starving, for example. But step by step, from you, from the others, from your colleagues, from your peers, you will make something like solid, and of course you will help your target. So this is an area that we need to like always remind them that your action is really appreciated and valuable. Don't neglect or underestimate your action. So this is one of the points. Another point, which is like, if we look to the other people who is like be served by the youth, you know, it's like the same as women in general. They feel that youth, they are young, they don't have this capacity, and they cannot like do something. Like they are only like, you know, they are talking only. We know they have this kind of the power. They would like to do something, but again, in the action, they are not like strong enough to do it. So I used to build a kind of in every project, either with this association or with the other associations or with my work as well, to create something, a group. It's called support group. This group consists with them, men, women, youth, in order to be first aware about the project, aware about the needs, and also who can serve you. And we need your support and to advocate for them. And they have to be part of the process. That's why inclusion is really important, to include them in the beginning, and from the beginning, from the initiation till the closing is really important. So that's why I have this group of support groups. As I mentioned, it consists men, women, and youth, in order to support, to give in a kind of the support and, you know, to facilitate the youth work in general.
We really don't give enough credit where it's due to the capacity for youth, and just harnessing that energy. When you talk about the harnessing of the potential, it's great, and kids do want to be involved, and there really is no fine line between the women saying, oh, youth are just rowdy youth, and where do we draw the line? What do we do with all of that energy? It's good to know that you're trying to bring that energy into our peripheral so that we realize how much is missing. We do need to include them in the dialogue.
Exactly. And I realized this actually in one of the projects, which is targeting youth and involving their parents too. By the end of the project is like a kind of the develop or create a groups from youth, about five youth per each group, per group, sorry. And the group should be like, should have gender balance. Then I asked them to, what you have learned, please employ it in an initiatives based on their in your like community needs. There are some like developed something which is focusing in environment, something for focusing and like some people like focusing on recycle, others in GBV, others in women empowerment economically, one like trying to like advocate and encourage women to adopt a new techniques for agriculture by providing soilless culture technique or hydroponic, and show them, sorry, how the process and how they can like benefit from this technology. So there is a really potential, and their energy should be like used in useful manner, in useful way, by having them build their capacities, create a safe space for them in order to be innovative and to be creative. That all this kind of the knowledge and information and the power and the energy should be like by the end translated in action to their community, right? So this is what I used to bringing up, and even if the project is not addressing youth, but I have to bring this component too, because if it's not, then there's kind of the exclusion actually. Youth are not there, but it's focusing, for example, on women. No, we need to bring also young women to be also involved, to be part of this like work or this initiatives or even this empowerment. So that's why we need not only like exclude anyone, we have to think about, okay, maybe their involvement will be like different based on the levels, but of course we have to bring them in the port in order to benefit or to even because I used to like a different project. When I bring the youth, even if they are not a part of the project, their ideas when they share it to me, something that, oh, why I didn't think about this, it's really brilliant, we can like use it, we please bring it to me and let's talk about it, discuss it, and how we can embed this in the program when we'll get the approval from our sponsor, for instance. So this is usually happened to me. That's why I always do encourage you to be part of my programs.
You're touching on such a good point of their skill set is different, definitely, but the creativity that they offer to how the formation of these programs and these changes, because really if they're not into it, it's not going to continue. There is no sustainability. They have to be willing to invest at least their future time into these initiatives, because if not, then it as good as our intentions are, nothing ends up being a long-lasting change.
Exactly. And they are the new generation, and then they will become the future leaders, right? And to have this kind of commitment and ownership, you have to involve them from the beginning. I believe on this because it's like a kind of there is a mutual like benefits between between the youth and the way that I used to like involving them. This is a smart mechanism, to be honest with you.
Win-win.
Because by the end, win-win, yes, it's really win-win situation. So the youth, they feel themselves that we are important segments here. Let's assume it's like segments, and our like it's like our opinions is really appreciated and valuable. So then later they feel that the ownership, and there will be kind of the commitment, and like after we're phasing out, there is a sustainability on the projects or on the activities that we implemented together, right? If you exclude them, of course, Even if it's like that, the direct group or that direct target group is women or men, for instance, or this people with a disability. But you have to have this kind of the cohesion and the inclusion in your project in order to sustain it and to sustain the activities and the purpose, the ultimate goal for the project by the end of the day, right?
Of course. Wow. And the respect that you build between the people, it solidifies the movement. Oh, this has been huge, really satisfying for me, Iqbal. Thank you so much. We're gonna get kicked out of here, but I do just want to stay in touch, and I'm sure I'll have questions related to whatever I've missed on this long list. But I just really appreciate you coming today.
Thank you very much. I'm there. Feel free to ask me to do any calls. Like I'm there.
I do remember one. We were going to talk about your friend in Sweden, but we can cut the I'm going to cut the recording for that.